Hi, my name is Kira Johnson, and this is the Famicos Community Podcast. Just some information about Famicos. We're located at 1325 Ansel Road, and our phone number is 216-791-6476. You could also go online to famicos.org to find out more information about Famicos. And just some events and announcements that are going on in the community before we talk to our guests today. We have a food pantry and vaccine clinic that's going to be going on March 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Northern Ohio Recovery Association, and that's also known as NORA. That is at 1400 East 55th Street. We also have a food distribution and vaccine clinic that's going to be happening at the Huff Multipurpose Center, and that's located at 8555 Huff Avenue, and that'll be on March 31st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also have a pop-up vaccine clinic, and that's going to be happening at Fatima Family Center, and that's located at 6600 Lexington Avenue, and that will be on March 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then tax season is also here, so you could call 211 to make an appointment to get your taxes done at Famicos for free. And you can get that done. You'll want to get it done right to try to maximize your potential refund as well. And also, if you're struggling with making ends meet with how the prices are going up on things, you could call our Home Ownership Resource Center, and you could get free financial coaching, credit repair, and also rental assistance as well. And you can visit us online at helpwithhousing.info for more information about that. And Famicos will also be offering free Uber rides for people who are wanting to get their COVID-19 vaccine, and that will be for first, second, and booster shots. You're eligible for that. You do not need to have a smartphone or the Uber app to be able to use this service. You can just call 216-510-3019, and someone will be able to help you schedule that ride. Also, the Gateway 105 Farmers Market will be opening for the season on March 26th. That will be from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., and they're located at 1322 East 105th Street. And now today, I'm going to get into talking to my guests. This podcast episode, we'll be discussing the people and the communities and organizations that are really making a difference in and around our areas. One of them is coming from Cleveland, downtown Cleveland in Playhouse Square, and another one is from the Huff, St. Clair Superior, and Glenville area. And right now I'm going to talk to Patrick Shepard. He's from the Cleveland International Film Festival, and he's going to be talking about CIFF 46. So welcome.
Kara, thank you so much. And I just want to say, you just talked about so many wonderful services that Famicos provides to our community, and I want to thank you. It's such important work.
Yeah, you're welcome. Could you just give us some background on CIFF 46 and just kind of an overview of what's going on with that?
Sure, I'm going to share my screen for those who are joining us by video, but the Cleveland International Film Festival is among the largest and longest running film festivals in the United States. And while the pandemic interrupted in-person screenings for 2 years, we have reinvented our kind of delivery model for the last 3 years in a row. And we basically show the newest and best films from around the world, and we help our audiences learn something along the way. And as the newest resident company of Playhouse Square, we plan to return to in-person programming for CIFF 46, which will take place between March 30th and April 9th. Essentially what will happen is we'll have an opening night film. It's called Peace by Chocolate. That'll take place on that Wednesday evening, March 30th in the Connor Palace. And then we'll have a dessert reception in the KeyBank State Theater in the lobby and the auditorium and on the stage. But then we get down to business the next day. So from March 30th through April 9th, we're going to have screenings morning, noon, and night at Playhouse Square. Over 280 public screenings that will take place in the Connor Palace, the KeyBank State Theater, the Ohio Theater, the Allen Theater, the Upper Allen, and the Westfield Studio Theater. So we are just so fortunate as Clevelanders to have this incredible resource right there on Euclid Avenue. It is the second largest performing arts center in the country outside of Lincoln Center in New York City, and we cannot think of a better place to move for our permanent and forever home.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that's new that's going on that's different from last year with CIFF 46?
Well, I would almost say we always have a list of what's new this year. We should have a list of what's not new this year because everything has changed. Our last in-person festival was at Tower City Cinemas in 2019. We were there for 29 years, and prior to that, we were at the Cedar Lee Theater in Cleveland Heights, starting in 1977. So certainly our new home is among the biggest changes. The fact that we're going to have a hybrid festival, which means that there'll be the in-person festival that'll run through April 9th, but then we'll have 8 days of streaming, CIFF 46 streams, where everybody can watch festival films from the comfort of their own home.
That's great. That's really nice. I did see that you all have sidebars that are part of the film festival as well. I saw like you have comedies, family films, that kind of thing. Do you have anything that you'd want to highlight from the Black cinema sidebar?
Oh, yes. There is a film called The Cannons, and this is a documentary film about Coach Neil Henderson. He, in 1978, started the first minority youth hockey program in the country.
Wow.
And today he is still coaching at 81 years old with 40 years of worth of rosters full of alumni players who revere him. He's based at the Fort DuPont Cannons Hockey Club in Washington, D.C. And it's just such a great story about such an amazing man and how he's helped transform the lives of youth there in Washington, D.C. I would also call your attention to a documentary film called One Pint at a Time. So Sean Harris is the co-owner and brewmaster of Harris Family Brewery, which is the first Black-owned brewery in Pennsylvania. And it's just a great story about what it's like to be in the craft brewing business. And of course, this is a primarily white profession. So Sean is really somebody who is breaking barriers, and there are just so many great stories to be told at the festival. And those are two great documentary film examples from our Black cinema sidebar.
I did get to see the preview for the One Pint at a Time. That does look like it's going to be really awesome. Yeah, that's great.
And we'll have, by the way, can I just chime in that what makes a festival special, I should have said this before, is that we have filmmakers that travel to Cleveland to engage the audiences. And in both of those films are going to have filmmakers in the auditoriums to answer questions from the audience, and they'll be here in Cleveland. So I hope folks are able to join us there and engage these filmmakers in person.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do they do that every year then, have filmmakers who come and engage with the audience?
Yeah, not every screening will have filmmakers because, quite frankly, some filmmakers, their schedule doesn't allow it. And for us, we're a nonprofit organization. We only have so much funding to bring in and accommodate filmmakers. So it is a balance, but it's what makes a festival experience special, and that's why we try to get as many filmmakers in to Cleveland each year.
Yeah. Do you have any other films that you'd want to highlight, possibly from other sidebars?
Well, if you'll permit me, I want to talk about the shorts programs. There are two really interesting films in two different shorts programs. One is called The Inventor, and it's not a documentary film, it's a narrative film about one of the most famous Black Clevelanders, and that's Garrett Morgan. Garrett Morgan, as you know, invented the gas mask. He invented the modern traffic light. He is certainly well represented here at the Cleveland History Center at the Western Reserve Historical Society. But his granddaughter still lives here in Cleveland, and she recently was able to place some of his inventions in the new Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. So this is another example of the fact that The Inventor is a short film in the festival. We're going to have filmmakers, and I believe we're going to have the granddaughter of Garrett Morgan for a special conversation after the shorts program that The Inventor is in. The thing about shorts is they're presented as part of a collected programs. So you'll see that they're in particularly named shorts programs. The other one I would call your attention to, and this is also a film that's going to have a filmmaker and some of the people in the documentary. It's called 100th and Cedar. 100th and Cedar is centered in the Fairfax neighborhood.
Okay.
And I know that isn't part of the Famicos service area, but I believe you're essentially neighbors. And very rarely do we have a film that's centered on one neighborhood, and it follows the stories of many people from that neighborhood overcoming adversity. East Mount Zion Baptist Church plays prominently in this film, and a service that they have called Lifeline. And it's just a great film showing how neighbors are resilient here in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I know you talked about the CIFF 46 streams and people being able to watch online. How long is that going to be running?
Okay, so thank you for asking. So that runs for 8 days. And after we close the in-person festival at Playhouse Square on Saturday, April 9th, the next morning we'll kick off CIFF 46 streams.
Okay.
And let me share that every film in the festival will have a Playhouse Square screening, but some feature films are telling us that we're not able to include it in streams. And
Okay.
some of that is financially motivated because they have investments in these films and they want to have a theatrical run this summer or fall, and they want to make back some return on investment. So we completely understand and appreciate it. But just so we're clear, not every film in the festival is going to be on streams, but all shorts will be. So the Inventor and 100th and Cedar will be, and that opens on Sunday morning, April 10th, and that wraps up at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, April 17th. You can watch that from the comfort of your own home. We know people who watch it on their laptops, their tablets. We do have free apps for Roku and Apple TV, so you can even get the streams on your television. A lot of people use HDMI cords just to connect their computers to TVs, but yes, for those 8 days, people can watch from the comfort of their own home.
And how can they view that online? Where can they go to access that?
Well, thank you for asking. On our website at clevelandfilm.org, that's how you obtain tickets to either an in-person screening at Playhouse Square or CIFF 46 streams.
Okay.
And our tickets go on sale to the general public this coming Friday, March 18th at 11 a.m. So everything can be found through our website.
Great, thank you. And then if someone's wanting to search online for a certain film, possibly one that you mentioned or even one that's going to be streamed, how can they do that too?
Well, you know what? Since we have the capability here, I'm going to share my screen quickly and show you. My fingers are not working as quickly as I'd like. So if you go to our website at clevelandfilm.org, you click on Film Festival here, and then Films A to Z, and then everything can be found alphabetically. Or if you want another way to look at it, we have a downloadable PDF, and some people prefer to look at it this way. But again, everything can be found at our website, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the film festival today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great, and I hope that it's given people some more information for things to look out for. So thank you so much for coming on today. Did you have any last-minute thoughts or things you wanted to say?
Yeah, we open 2 weeks from tonight, and the festival welcomes people from every walk of life, every background, because we do feel like we have a little bit in this film festival for everybody. So.
Yeah. Well,
please join us.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
So now I'll turn to my second guest, Clarissa Barnes, and she's coming to talk about Neighbor to Neighbor, and she's an ambassador with Neighbor to Neighbor. So can you just give me an overview of what Neighbor to Neighbor is and what your role is there?
Sure. So I have to separate Famicos from Neighbor to Neighbor, right? Okay. So Neighbor to Neighbor to me is increasing engagement in the community. I would say it's to empower and actually influence the community members, especially those who may be impacted by poverty or who may not know. So I would say the knowledge and ability and access. We also are out in the community to educate individuals for resources that may be eligible or should be eligible. And then we also want to ask questions to understand the gaps that exist due to the lack of resources or programming, and just get them involved.
Yeah, and you do work with Famicos as well. So what do you do there as well with?
I am a administrative assistant. I'll be at the front desk if you ever see me or come in.
Yeah, that's great. So then with your role with Neighbor to Neighbor, can you just kind of talk about that, like what you do?
Yes, I go out and canvass the neighborhood. I go door to door and ask questions and try to see where there is lack, so we can get them the resources that they may need, and show the community that, hey, we are in need of resources, and we should have it available, because not only it's all around us. It's in the economics, it's in education, healthcare, it's needed.
Yeah. And I know you talked a little bit about like looking for the needs and that kind of thing. And I know part of Neighbor to Neighbor is digital inclusion.
Yes.
What is digital inclusion to you? Like, what does that mean?
Digital inclusion to me is the access and the ability that individuals should have as far as technology, as well as the internet, not only having internet, but having high-speed internet.
And why do you feel that it's important that digital inclusion is something that everyone has access to?
I would say it's important because, like I said, it impacts not only individuals, but the community as a whole. It's in everything, like I said before, it's in education, healthcare, it's all around us. It's in our workforce, especially.
Yeah. And what does it mean to be a neighborhood ambassador? Like, what does that role mean?
So to me, it means making a change for me. Not only am I going out educating individuals about resources, but I'm also learning a lot from them as well, especially not being from Cleveland. I'm learning the history. It's engagement, community engagement.
Yeah. That's great. And where are you from?
I'm from Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So when he was talking about DC, I always smile. That's my home.
And what are some of the tasks that you've done as a neighborhood ambassador?
So like canvassing is mostly what I do, and that's completing surveys in the neighborhood to try to see where there is lack.
So then do you go door to door for those kinds of things?
Door to door.
Okay. And what do you enjoy most about being a neighborhood ambassador and going out into the community?
I would say it's engagement with the community, knowing where I can make a difference, knowing that not only can I make a difference in their life, but they're making a difference in mine, like learning of all the things that was in Cleveland. I learned a lot of history talking to some of the neighbors, and just engaging, really.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And so you're going to be out in the Glenville, the Huff, and the St. Clair Superior neighborhoods. What can those residents be on the lookout for in the coming months from you all?
Really just going door to door, street to street, to try to talk with our residents to see where we can help them out with different resources. So if you see us on your street, just say hello, wave at us.
Yeah. And if someone is listening and they would like to be a neighborhood ambassador too, how could they do that?
There's definitely opportunity. There's definitely the need of ambassadors. So they can definitely come to 1325 Answer Road, which is Famicos Foundation, and talk to Shabrice Murphy. We do have applications at the front desk if you're interested.
Thank you. Yeah. And did you have any last thoughts or comments that you wanted to say about your experience with Neighbor to Neighbor, or just in general?
Absolutely. I would just say that it's been a pleasure speaking with residents and knowing where we can try to make a change.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to both of my guests for coming on today. Again, if you wanted to contact Famicos, you could call 216-791-6476, or you could also go online to famicos.org as well. And if anyone's listening and they might have suggestions on topics or things that they want us to discuss on the Famicos Community Podcast, you can send those to marketing@famicos.org. Thank you again.